Welcome to Timeless Tales, where ordinary lives often hide extraordinary secrets. Today, we unravel a mystery that begins in a quiet suburban neighborhood. A story that starts with the simplest of routines and ends in the most unimaginable twist. This is the tale of the housewife who disappeared without a trace. Our story begins in a place like any other. Picture this: a tidy house, a well-kept lawn, and a woman named Sarah Matthews, a devoted housewife and wonderful mother, known to everyone in her small community. She was the glue of her family, the one who made sure everything ran smoothly. Her days were marked by routine breakfast for her husband and children, household chores, and maybe a moment for herself before the rush of the day overwhelmed her. It was a Monday, like any other. Sarah woke up early, as she always did. She packed lunches for her two children, kissed her husband Mark goodbye on the way to work, and said goodbye to the children as they went to school. She had the usual to-do list: laundry, grocery shopping, tidying up the house. The last thing anyone saw of her was when she took out the trash, just before 10 in the morning. But when Mark came home that evening, something was wrong. Sarah wasn't there. The dining table, which was always set when she came in, was empty. The house had an eerie silence, the kind you don't notice until you're waiting for someone who should be there. At first, he didn't think twice. He asked the children, but they said she wasn't there when they arrived. He then thought maybe she had gone out on an errand and decided to wait. He set the table for dinner by himself, waiting anxiously for Sarah to come in the door and start cooking something for everyone's dinner. He also decided to prepare something for the children, because he couldn't stay up waiting that long. He ate something himself and no one felt like talking that evening. While he waited, he put the children to bed and sat in the living room, confident that his wife would definitely arrive. But as the minutes turned into hours, that stillness turned into a suffocating silence that even prevented him from breathing. He thought it was a bus accident or something that was delaying Sarah's arrival home. Mark called his phone again. It rang, but like all the previous calls, there was no answer. He tried again. Nothing. When the clock struck midnight, the panic was complete. Sarah had not returned, and it was clear that she had not just left to do the shopping. Something was wrong. He paced back and forth in the kitchen, checking the garage. Her car was still there. Her bag was intact on the counter. His anguish increased even more. Sarah would never go out without her car and her bag with her documents and the necessary things to do the shopping. All the documents were in the bag: driving license, identity card, credit cards, and the necessary makeup. Everything was in its place, and even the money was still in her wallet. It was as if Sarah had vanished into thin air. He reproached himself for having waited so long. He should have acted sooner, but now he could not do anything about it. With shaking hands, Mark called the police and reported his wife missing. That call marked the beginning of a long and harrowing investigation, one that would reveal more secrets than anyone could have imagined. The peaceful life the Matthews family had known was about to be shattered by the weight of the unknown. The local police responded quickly. Missing persons cases in quiet suburbs always stir an unsettling fear. They began by searching the house for clues. There were no signs of forced entry, no struggle, nothing out of place. Everything was just as it had been that morning, except for Sarah. The neighbors were the first to be questioned. Had anyone seen Sarah after 10 a.m.? Did anyone notice anything unusual? But no one had seen anything. Sarah had been there, and then she wasn't. The police moved on to the next step, checking security footage from nearby houses. Camera after camera was reviewed, but Sarah didn't appear anywhere. It was as if she had disappeared right after stepping out of her front door. As the days turned into weeks, the entire town was shrouded in mystery. Flyers with Sarah's picture appeared on telephone poles and community bulletin boards. Search parties were organized, scouring parks, woods, and vacant lots, hoping to find some sign of her. All the security cameras were checked for a suspicious van or car that didn't belong to anyone in the small community, but every search ended in disappointment. No sign of Sarah was found. Mark, once a man of quiet confidence, became a shadow of his former self. He spent nights pacing the house, replaying every moment of that final morning in his head. Had he missed something? Was there anything he could have done differently? The police questioned him over and over, but he had no answers to give. He had loved his wife, he had supported her, and their marriage had been, by all accounts, solid. There had been no disagreements or arguments between them. Everything was normal in a normal family. Yet now she was gone, and he had nothing but questions. Part 3. Unraveling the Secrets. As the investigation dragged on, the police began to dig deeper into Sarah's life. It's often said that people wear masks, and as much as we think we know someone, there are always parts of them hidden from view. For Sarah, those hidden parts were about to be exposed. They started with her phone and computer. At first, everything seemed normal. Texts from friends, reminders to pick up groceries, emails from the kids' school. But then, they found something unexpected. Sarah had been working a part-time job, something she had never mentioned to Mark or the children. It wasn't anything scandalous, just data entry for a small company. But the secrecy raised questions. Why had she kept it a secret? Then there were the emails. In the days before she disappeared, Sarah had been in touch with someone. The emails were short and cryptic, but they hinted at something, an opportunity and a new beginning. There were no names, no details, just a vague promise of something new. Upon further investigation, it was discovered that the emails had been sent from an anonymous address with a false name, and this lead also came to nothing. Mark was stunned. Had his wife planned to leave all along? Was there a part of her life he had never known? Mark's mind quickly flashed back to moments he hadn't thought much about before. Nights when Sarah stayed up late at the computer, mornings when she seemed distant, lost in her own thoughts. Were these signs that she was up to something? He'd never questioned her before. Why would he? He trusted his wife and loved her very much and had no reason to think badly of her. They were a team, a family. But now, everything seemed like a lie. And everything that had happened suggested that Sarah wasn't as happy as she made it seem. Part 4. A twist in the tale. Just when the investigation seemed to be stalling, a new lead emerged. It came in the form of a phone call from a woman in a nearby town. She claimed to have seen Sarah, or someone who looked remarkably like her, at a small bar. The woman described Sarah as dazed, confused, as if she didn't recognize her name when they called. She said Sarah sat at a corner table, staring into space before suddenly leaving. Police rushed to the bar, but when they arrived, Sarah was nowhere to be found. The sighting left them with more questions than answers. Could Sarah have been suffering from amnesia? Had she had some sort of mental breakdown? Or, as some in the community began to whisper, was there something more unnatural at play? Further investigation revealed that it wasn't Sarah, but another woman who looked just like her, but was homeless and suffering from mental illness. Everything went back to the way it was before. No trace of Sarah could be found. The complete lack of traces of Sarah began to circulate the strangest ideas among its inhabitants. The town where Sarah lived was not without legends. Small towns often keep old stories, and this one was no different. Whispers of strange events, unexplained disappearances, and even supernatural forces dated back generations. Some wanted to find some justification for Sarah's sudden and unexpected disappearance. Some of the locals began to wonder if Sarah had fallen victim to something otherworldly, or had been captured, some kind of sacrificial victim of some satanic cult. In desperation, Mark even turned to a local psychic. The woman, known for her uncanny accuracy in predicting events in small towns, told Mark that Sarah's disappearance was connected to something beyond this world. She spoke of a hidden path, a place where people go when they want to escape, when they are no longer tied to the lives they have built. Mark was skeptical, of course, but as the days dragged on without answers, he found himself wondering if there was any truth to it. Could there be a part of Sarah's disappearance that defied logic? Something no detective or police officer could explain? He began to resign himself and convince himself that his life would continue without his wife, even though he missed her so much. Part 5. The Final Revelation. Months had passed since Sarah's disappearance. The case had grown cold, the search parties disbanded, and life in the town slowly returned to its usual routine. But for Mark, time had stood still. He was left living in the shadow of unanswered questions and the deep ache of loss. Just when it seemed all hope was gone, something unexpected happened. One morning, a letter arrived in the mail. No return address. Just a plain envelope with Mark's name written in familiar handwriting, Sarah's handwriting. His heart raced as he opened it, hoping for answers. The letter explained everything, or almost everything. Sarah hadn't disappeared by accident. She had left of her own free will. But the reason was far more painful than he could have ever imagined. I've fallen in love, Mark, not just with anyone, but with a man who has made me feel alive in a way I never thought possible. It wasn't planned, it wasn't something I set out to do. But when I met him, everything changed. I fell madly in love, the kind of love I dreamed about when I was younger. With him, I feel like a new woman, like the person I was always meant to be, but could never find. Our love has unlocked parts of me that I thought had been lost forever. I didn't want to hurt you, but I couldn't stay in the life we built. It was too flat, too monotonous. Day after day, I felt like I was suffocating. I dreamed of something different, something more, and I found it. With him, I see a future filled with excitement and possibility, the kind of life I've longed for since I was a girl. I feel fulfilled for the first time in years. Please don't try to find me. I'm never coming back. I'm sorry, truly, for the pain this will cause you and the kids, but I need to be free, to live the life I've always dreamed of, and I found that life with him. I hope someday you can understand. The words hit Mark like a punch to the gut. The woman he had loved, the woman he had built his life around, had not only chosen to leave him and their children, but had done so for another man. And worse, she had no intention of returning. For Mark, the letter was an answer, but it brought no closure, only more heartache. Conclusion. And so, the mystery of Sarah Matthews came to an end, but not the kind anyone had hoped for. She hadn't been taken by foul play, nor had she fallen victim to some supernatural force. The truth was more devastating. She had chosen to leave the life she once knew, abandoning her husband and children to pursue a new love. A love that made her feel alive in a way she had longed for but never found in her old life. Sometimes, the greatest mysteries are not found in the unknown, but in the hearts of the people we think we know best. For Sarah, the price of fulfillment and passion was walking away from everything she once had. And for Mark and their children, the cost was a life forever haunted by the question, why wasn't our love enough? Thank you for joining us on Timeless Tales, where ordinary lives are anything but. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that blur the line between truth and fiction. God bless you.